there is something I did want to share with y'all that has to do with it has to do with Superhead. Now, the only reason why I call her Superhead is because that's what she's been known for in the streets, okay? Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, this particular woman was actually known in the streets as a video vixen, okay? But also as Superhead. Now, just you do the math on what Superhead means, okay? So you do the math. Now, this particular woman who goes by the name of Elizabeth Ovson, okay, now, she wrote a book called Confessions of a Video Vixen. It was a bestseller like crazy, okay? People still reference this book to this day. Even so, they reference this book even more now because of everything that's been going on with the Diddy trial and all that. Okay. This woman exposed a lot of things about the hip hop industry back in the day in this book. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in, you know, some people just don't like to read. Okay. Some people just don't like to pick up a book and doggone put their eyeballs in it and read. So there's a lot of information that was in the book that I think was kind of flown over people's heads, or they read it, they have it in their minds, but nothing was ever done about it. Okay. But she talked about how dark and messed up and just the dark underbelly of the hip hop industry that she was a part of. In fact, she was also told to move around and perform these things, hence the reason why she was called Superhead, for other people to work out deals. She even talks about Irv Gotti and how he would have her go off and have relations with people to make certain deals come true. This is real. This is what she really says in her book, Confessions of a Video Vixen. Now, this book is old now, okay? But it was huge back in the day because she was talking about everybody that was a big name in the hip hop industry, every single one of them, okay? Now, she suddenly is showing up, okay? She's on Piers Morgan. We got to hear this. This one's very interesting. And I'm side-eyeing this conversation. I'm going to say it outright. I'm sorry. I'm side-eyeing this conversation outright. With all due respect, I believe what she wrote in the book is real. I don't think she's making things up, that kind of thing, okay? But I truly think that what she says in here is very interesting. And you're going to be seeing me pause a lot in this one because I got so many questions about this, okay? And we're only going to listen to her part, okay? Because there's other parts that I'm going to probably do as a pop-up video because you got Tony Busby with Vlad TV in the conversation and all that as well, and they're kind of going after each other, which is crazy. But this, yeah, she is like Naldo, perfect example. If you don't know who Brittany Renner is, okay, she is before Brittany Renner was Brittany Renner. Okay, like she is somebody who has been out here doing her thing. Okay, beautiful woman. She knows it, and would just, she was very free, for lack of a better word. She was very promiscuous. Okay, and would have relations with a lot of names, a lot of stars. Okay, in the game back then. Okay. So yeah, she is like the OG of that. And that's why her name, or she donned the nickname Superhead. Remember that. Now, there's some stuff here that's very interesting. We got to take a look at this. I got so many questions, but let's just rock and roll. Piers Morgan brings her on to talk about Diddy and her relations and her reactions to his loss, or to his verdict, to her relationship with him in the past. It's very interesting. Take a very close listen to this.
Elizabeth, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of people are kind of aware of your history with Diddy, but for those who know nothing about it, how would you categorize your time with him?
My time with Sean was honestly pleasant in the beginning. To my recollection, the first time we met, we spent the night together. But he was a consummate gentleman with me in that evening, again, to my recollection. And
I'm going to run that back one more time. Take a listen to what she just said right out the gate.
but he was a consummate gentleman with me in that evening, again, to my recollection.
We're not done yet.
And every other time I saw him after that was in a group setting, so it was fine. The last time I saw him, however, things had taken a bit of a turn. It was after Confessions of a Video Vixen, my first book had been published, and he was seething when he saw me Prince had a party at his house, and we were there, of course, before Prince died, and he was scowling at me the whole night, and I found it amusing, but he was obviously very angry with me by that point in our relationship.
Why was he so angry with you?
Well, 4 months before Confessions was published in 2005, we got a call from Sean's attorney. My attorney did. And Sean's attorney wanted to see the book before the book came out. Confessions of a Video Vixen was an embargoed book, so no one could see it. No one would even get it until the publication date, which is June 5th of that year. And so my attorney told his attorney that he could not get the book and that they would have to wait until the book came out like everyone else. And
I want you guys to understand that this book was so hot back then, okay? This book was so fire hot back then that everybody and their mama wanted a piece of this book, okay? Everybody, because she was exposing so much. This was a hot book, okay? The Black community at that time was losing their doggone minds, their rabid minds over this book. It was a mother-loving page-turner. Okay.
If they saw a problem in the book, that they were free to reach back out to us, sue us, whatever they felt was necessary. We knew that wouldn't happen because HarperCollins is the publisher of that book, as you know, is a News Corp entity, and those attorneys made sure it was vetted to the fullest, so Sean could never sue, he could never raise any objection to it. And I think he always hated me after that because I left enough. I posed questions in that book that that I think sent certain people down the direction that leads us to where we are now.
Now, I want you to know, first off, HarperCollins is a huge publishing company. Okay, huge. The fact that she got this in the hands of that publishing company is a big deal. But obviously, you already know the end result. The book is a big book. It's a big book. Okay. Even Christina is saying in the chat, I'm gonna say, read the book, y'all. Yeah. If you could get your hands on it, read the book. And I'm telling you right now, this is her pushing for the book to have a resurgence of sales again. Wait for it, because she's talking about right here. Okay. She's talking about it for show. But again, that book, big time book. Big time book. And let's be real, she does not paint herself as an angel in the book. Okay? She dirty. Okay? Grimy as hell. Okay? So she doesn't paint herself as like the heroine of the heroine, of the show. Okay? She says, hey, I did some things. I did a lot of things. All right? So very interesting stuff. Okay, but let's continue.
Just explain that a little more. What were the questions you think that you're talking about?
Well, honestly, I'm just now getting context on a lot of the questions that I had then. after the trial. The trial gave me way more context. But just about, I think, his sexual proclivities and what we saw in hanging out with him, the kind of clubs he took us to, even conversations he and I had, one in particular where I didn't understand it at the time. And honestly, Piers, I'm getting new understanding about this line of questioning. I wrote about this in Confessions, where my boyfriend and I at the time had gone to his home for New Year's Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve kind of festivities. And he pulled me to the side and was just like, we're friends, right? We're friends. And I was like, yeah, we're friends. And like, we're good. And I'm like, yeah, we're good. And I couldn't figure out what he meant. And I wrote about this where I didn't know what he was talking about. And he just kind of went on to say, I have kids, I have a mom, and if anything got out, it would really hurt them. And I honestly, at that point in stage, did not know or remember what he was talking about. And so we just kind of laughed it off. Like, what's going on with him? And things that he said to my boyfriend, like, don't trust her. She might have her on video with, in precarious positions. And this is back before cell phone cameras. So I was just like, what video? I didn't understand any of it.
Now I can understand how some of this is all coming back to her and going, oh, that's what she mean. That's what he meant by those things. I get that piece, right? But at the same time, it gets interesting near the end here. So let's continue.
Now, after the trial and the things that have come out from the trial, this gives these conversations a lot more context. But at the time when Confessions came out, it did make us all wonder, what was he so afraid of? I didn't even know what I had seen or didn't see, or if there's something happened that I didn't remember from our time together. But he was very afraid that I would say something in the book. And honestly, I think he never contacted us back because what he thought I was going to say, I did not say, possibly because I didn't remember it.
What do you think he was fearful of you saying?
I have to be honest, Piers, in booking this time with you today, and your producer asked me to kind of send over some pages from the book. I hadn't read Confessions since I wrote it, and I read it for the audio version, and that was 2005. It's been 20 years since I read this book. And in reading what I sent over, which is what I just described to you right now, I wonder a lot of things. He was so afraid that I knew something. And I was confused because the only time that we had together prior to this conversation was alone time at his home, wherein I felt we had a good time. I didn't know, he didn't come on to me. It was very platonic, I thought. So I was confused as to what was it? And so I have to admit, my mind kind of races now that I have more context of his proclivities and what he's capable of what he was so afraid of, what he thought I knew or what he thought I remembered.
I mean, in the book, you talk about the first time you met Diddy in a nightclub at 3 a.m. You said, right there in front of me, Diddy and Gotti, who was the Murder Inc. Records boss of Gotti.
Here we go.
Made arrangements to send me to Diddy's house in 1 hour. It was 4 a.m. I turned up to Diddy's home in my SUV. There were security guards in the driveway, all dressed in dark suits with their hands in front of them. They had been expecting me. The things that went on when Gotti and I were together are almost unimaginable to me now. But in the haze of drugs and liquor, it all seemed all right. I was being used over and over again, man after man, all friends and acquaintances of Gotti's.
You heard that, right? First off, that's crazy, because it's the same kind of breakdown that Jane Doe or even Cassie could say. It seemed okay at the time because it was just a whole bunch of liquor and substances flying left and right. So yeah, it's cool. But in hindsight, when you look at it from beyond, right? When you take yourself out of the situation, it's like, yo, this was crazy. This was totally crazy. And in my sober mind, would I put myself in this kind of situation, right? So again, This is nuts, right?
I quickly became Gotti's showpiece. He would turn other people in the industry onto me. I was his party favor. Whenever there was anyone Gotti wanted to impress, he would send them to me and I'd take care of them.
Yo. Like, see what I'm saying? And this is just from her book, right? So imagine what she really went through. And that's the other thing too. You know, is she, we're going to hear something here in a second, because I'm going to let her say her piece on here. But see, she kind of like, there was a moment there where she was just like talking in circles that I didn't really enjoy. Okay. No, not John Gotti, Irv Gotti, guys. Irv Gotti. That she was just kind of talking in circles that made no earthly sense. And I think maybe she's nervous as well. But at the same time, it is true. This is a book that she circled back and read for an audio book in 2005. So 20 years. I mean, that's a long time, right? And the stuff that she went through, whether it was trauma or if it was consensual, is still an experience that she went through. You got to remember, just because somebody didn't go, just because it's not considered trauma, does not automatically mean that that person can't look back and go, damn, I shouldn't have done that. Think about that for a second. I'm not sitting here saying that we'll see what she says later on in this interview. But what I'm trying to say is like, it's like, man, I shouldn't have drank that much that night. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. It was all by my choice and by my own hand. But, maybe I shouldn't have drank that much, or man, I shouldn't have done that one thing that I did. You know what I mean? You could still have regret, right? You could still feel a semblance of trauma over something that you did consensually, right? It's like, oh, I shouldn't have slept with that guy. Shouldn't have slept with that girl, so on and so forth, right? You could still have those moments of just straight up regret. Those things happen. Plenty of people have done things in their past that they wish they didn't do. Come on now, right? Doesn't automatically mean trauma or needs to be, or it doesn't automatically mean that someone needs to be pointed at a blame to, right? Not everything has to be a lawsuit. Not everything has to be, lock him up and throw away the key. Sometimes it could just be like, I made some really dumb choices and I regret those dumb choices because they were really bad and dumb. But I made those choices on my own, right? That is still possible here, guys. So again, what she's going through, maybe what she's going through in her mind is like, damn, I can't believe I did that. But I did it. And I wrote a book about it and made crap tons of money talking about my experiences, right? But she can still have regret. That's still possible, y'all.
I mean, could it be that what Sean Combs was worried about was that he facilitated this very transactional relationship that you had with Irv Gotti? Is that part of this?
I don't think that was it. And honestly, I think it was more insidious than that. The fear, the fright that he had during that conversation at his Miami home, back in whatever year that was, he seemed terrified that I had known something. And I just don't know what he thought I knew or remembered. The transactional nature of how we met, and which is why, I said in various interviews before that I was gifted to him, it was because no one asked me if I wanted to go. No one asked me. They talked about me as if I wasn't there. I was property to cart around. And that's what they did. If they would have asked me, I still would have gone. So I didn't hold any objection at the time because I would have still done it. Being 21 and it's Diddy and we're having fun and it's just a Saturday night out in LA.
Crazy, right? There's more. I mean, she's sitting there going, it would have been still consensual, but I was still made to go and do these things. I was still asked to go over and perform. And, it was a transactional relationship. That's how I was introduced to Diddy. That's insane. That she was moved over there, basically ST'd, okay, to go and perform for the diddler. She has nothing. She has no skin in the game, guys, okay? Except maybe to promote her book. Like I said, a new resurgence. Maybe this book will become a bestseller all over again, right? Because everyone wants to take a trip down memory lane again. Superhead from the late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe that's what it is, right? But at the same time, she ain't got no skin in the game. But there's some parts here that are very interesting. Get ready for it.
At all, then.
And I'm going to change the speed a little bit, guys.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you actually have any kind of sexual relationship with Diddy at all?
This part.
No, Diddy and I did not. No, well,
I was going to say.
Not to my knowledge.
What? 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 So this is the part where I'm like, oh, no. Is she alluding to something? Could this turn into a book? Is this another book coming? Or could she actually be wanting to do a lawsuit? I don't know. But yeesh. She's now she doesn't remember if she had relations with the dude or not.
So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, please explain.
Not to my knowledge. I don't. Honestly, I'm questioning a lot of things right now.
I have to hit the button again. You hear what she just said? Hold on. I'm going to just one more time.
A sexual relationship with Diddy at all?
No, Diddy and I did not. Well, not to my knowledge.
So what do you mean by that?
Not to my knowledge. I don't. Honestly, I'm questioning a lot of things right now.
So again, but here's the thing. Some people could look at that and go, what does that mean? Oh, she just trying to get on that Diddy money train, right? Or could she be working on writing a new book? I'm just asking the questions that people are saying out here in these streets. People are now looking at that going, wait a second. Yeah, like she was too zooted, too under the influence to recall. Could this be borderline being plied with stuff against her will? But then she says she went over there willingly. It was consensual. But then she says this, it's different. Hold on.
Not to my knowledge. I don't. Honestly, I'm questioning a lot of things right now.
What do you think?
Not to my knowledge. No, I don't think anything right now. Just not to my knowledge, because honestly.
That's a very strange response, though, to not remember whether you did or not.
Yeah, that is a very strange response. And also I see this as an opportunity for her to, it almost seems like her wheels are turning. You know what I mean? I'm just, like I said, and yeah, Piers Morgan is like, yo, that is the strangest response. We just asked you a question straight ahead. Superhead. All you got to do is answer the question. And now you're saying something different. That's weird. But then at the same time, it does feel like, I don't know, some part of me feels like some wheel is turning in her head, and it could be like another book or more money. However that money will materialize into her pockets, I don't know, right?
Yeah, isn't it? It is. Yeah, it is. Because honestly, Piers, before now, before I went through my text, I hadn't read Confessions in 20 years. I wrote it. It was painful to write. So I never wanted to re-traumatize myself and go through those years again. And think about this. I'm a middle-aged woman at this point. I don't want to go back into my 20s and see what happened. But in gathering information for this interview here, reading that passage again for the first time in 20 years, I questioned a lot of things. Like, well, why was he so afraid? And why did he try to, make my boyfriend feel as if I wasn't trustworthy? And
do you think he took advantage of you when you were under the influence of alcohol and drugs?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
But do you fear that's the case now from everything you've read?
Honestly, yes. Given the context, now that I know, because again, I never knew any of these things about him before. So the things that I learned in the trial, I did not know. I never saw that side of him. I did not know. I never understood. And again, in 2005, when I published Confessions, it says I didn't understand why he was so fearful of me, because our time together was pleasant. And I was like, wait, what is he so afraid of? What does he not want me to tell? I didn't see anything at that point. At that point, I hadn't seen anything. At that point, we had, I thought, just a friendly, platonic night together. So I was confused then. And 20 years later, I'm confused now. So to my knowledge, I've never had sex with Sean Combs. We never had that kind of relationship.
But you can't be sure.
Given what we know now, I can't be sure.
And how does that?
No, I mean, I don't think that she's lying. I don't think that she's lying. I just think that her wheels are turning. That's what I think. Like my miracle mama. Yes, I'm being nice. I'm not just going in scorched earth on her. I just think that she's maybe thinking of a sequel to the Video Vixen saga, but maybe it's centered solely around Diddy. You know, she's like, I open up the notes, I open up the book, I haven't touched those things in so long that maybe she's like, you know, live on the show, suddenly thinking like, maybe there is another book, maybe there is something. You know what I mean? Maybe there is something. You know, like I said, it's this. I think this is interesting, right? You know, I think that's interesting.
I was confused then, and 20 years later, I'm confused now. So, to my knowledge, I've never had sex with Sean Combs. We never had that kind of relationship.
So she doesn't remember if they had relations or not. But then here's the thing. She says that she has had pleasant moments with him in the past. There was a transactional relationship, and that's how she met him in the first place. So what is it? Did she have relations with the guy or not? That doesn't make any sense. You see what I'm saying? Now, it's still possible that maybe first time she met him was, you know, there was something, you know, sexual going on. But then later on, maybe she doesn't remember because he kept plying her with substances. Maybe that's the case. But it is a very interesting thing that she's saying right now on this show live with Piers Morgan. Let's continue. Ain't nobody shaming nobody, okay? Hold on, okay? But it just seems a little bit weird that she would say, you know, what she's saying right now. I thought she said everything she had to say in the book, right? But I could see her going, yeah, Guided April. I could see it being like Video Vixen after Diddy trial. You know what I mean? My time with the diddler, Video Vixen. You know what I'm saying? I just see in her mind, ooh, there's a something here. There's a something to cook, and you know what I mean? And it could be a very spicy meatball. Maybe.
But you can't be sure.
Given what we know now, I can't be sure.
And how does that make you feel?
And that saddens me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
It saddens me, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, during this entire process, I've been shying away from publicity and just letting the trial unfold. You know, I knew things from just being around and people talking, but I didn't know what was going to come out. There's a few things that I saw that without context were strange to me, but I didn't understand them until the trial. And so I've been quiet this whole time, and I disappeared off of social. I just disappeared for the past year, waiting for this thing to unfold. In the unfolding of what I believe to be facts, and definitely the testimonies of Cassie and Jane, and even some of the men, and then looking back at the text, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, when he said, if anything got out, and I'm like, and I remember at the time being so confused, like anything like what got out? Like nothing happened. We hung out. You were kind. At some point I went to sleep. I don't know when, but I woke up and then we had breakfast and you were kind and I left. Nothing happened. I don't know, Piers. I feel, and just in the last 24 hours, I question what I thought I knew about my time with him.
You detailed in your books romantic relationships with a lot of famous people from that world: Jay-Z, DMX, Van Diesel, Lil Wayne, Method Man, even Bill Maher, LL Cool J, Mr. Carl, and others. You had a lot of famous guys you dated. And who knows what the nature of what happened with Diddy was about. But do you feel that this whole world has now changed irrevocably as a result of what happened to Diddy?
No, because nothing has happened to Diddy. Nothing has.
She ain't wrong with that. He definitely got away. He definitely got away with a lot. All right.
Happened to Sean at all. What has happened here is that here's the deal. It's not a Diddy issue. Like Diddy is a problem, but he's not the problem. Okay, he's not the problem. From Cosby to Combs, Weinstein to Epstein, and everything in between, they're all different tentacles of the same beast. And this is a story as old as time. The abuses of men, men in power, especially men with money, and I think it only increases over time as women become more free and more liberated. Being able to make our own money, being able to, buy our own homes, being able to start our own businesses. I think it only enrages the men who hold power that they're losing power. And so I felt that over time, in my experience over the last 20 something years that I've been in this town, that the men are increasingly more aggressive and more so wanting to keep women under control and in power because they are losing power, even legally. So I don't think that the Diddy trial has changed anything other than it probably fuels this issue more than anything, because here's the deal. Two of the toughest charges have been dropped. He's facing up to 20 with time served. Yeah, he's denied bail, but how much time is he really going to get? Probably maybe 3 years, might be out on probation, might have to wear an ankle bracelet like Martha Stewart, and everything's going to be fine. And then what happens is that no one's paying attention to the fact that there are a lot of men who aren't saying anything, who are very quiet, as well as men especially, and women who are supporting him. And I fear, even with everything that we've heard, let's say none of that was true. We saw something, however, that tells us something about this person. We saw a videotape of him brutalizing Cassie, and that tells me everything I need to know about this person's character. So even if nothing else was true, that alone is enough reason for him to be canceled indefinitely. But I fear that's not what's going to happen. I think this is just emboldening more men to do the same thing, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to get away with it. There are men in this industry who have left this country, who are now living on islands and in different countries, to escape persecution from things like this. There are men that I know personally who are involved in this, who have done things similar to this, who have parties like this. Diddy's not the only one. This is not a Sean Combs problem. This is a societal community issue here in this town. And it's not just the artists. It's also their attorneys, their publicists. It's the hotels. I was brutalized in a hotel, and guess what happened? That tape disappeared. When I went to get my police report from the police station, it was destroyed, all within 48 hours, to protect the person who had brutalized me. It is systemic. So it doesn't matter, if Diddy gets off or not, in the sense that it won't stop anything. I think if anything, it makes it all worse.
Yeah. Sorry, I needed to let her cook on that because she has a good point. Super good points there. Here's the thing. I think we also live in a time, in an era now where this is, we live in a very interesting time. And again, I think what she said here is very, very true. Diddy's going to get out in a couple years, and it's going to be, and everyone's going to move on. Yeah, he might be looked at in a certain way. Some people are going to side-eye him. Some people, there's still going to be the when they see him, that kind of thing. But there's still going to be a certain portion of the world that's going to hoist him on their shoulders and still champion and cheerlead him on, for real. Okay, he's still going to be loved. He's still going to be respected. He's not going to be looked at like some sort of pariah. I do think that he will be a walking lawsuit waiting to happen every single moment he makes a wrong turn or a bad experience. There will be cameras all up in his face, exposing him and showing how terrible of a guy he is. But at the end of the day, people will still be willing to support him and watch his stuff and eat up what he does. Look at the likes of like Mel Gibson, Chris Brown, for example. I mean, Chris Brown did that terrible thing and he's still out here making music. Real talk. He's still performing. He's still, looked at as one of the greatest entertainers, okay, of our generation, right? So again, yeah, he's getting the slap on the wrist, but that's about it, right? She's not wrong with the whole, this is systemic. This is just a tale as old as time, because it very well is. It very much is, guys. There's still other guys that are involved in things like this and this type of behavior. This is not going to stop them. It just keeps them doing what they're doing. Now, do I think that it's going to stop it? Do I think that it's they just are going to go even harder? No, they're going to find other ways to do it in a more indiscreet manner. That's all it is. One thing I do want to say, and I want to make this abundantly clear, I'm not knocking anybody in the S industry. Okay, S workers and all that. If that's how you make your money, do your thing. Okay, just make sure you're ahead of the game. Okay, that's what I truly think. All right. Do I want my loved ones to go into the S working game? Hell no. But if that's the choice that somebody wants to make, please be safe. Don't get yourself in trouble and stay away from the powder. Okay. But here's the thing. All right. I think we have a problem here, especially when we live in the world of the OFs and the like the sugar babies and the sugar daddies and all that stuff. I think that there's so much of gray that is a huge problem. Okay. Because there's girls out here, they're young, even men. I will say this too, even men that get into this game thinking that, get into like start becoming friendly or cozy with some sort of celebrity, or they're working with people that are in the industry, and they think that, oh, this is just how it is, right? Or they say, okay, I'm cool with this in the very beginning, only for it to backfire at them, right? Because at first they're like, okay, I'm fine with this, right? I'm cool with it because I'm still with Diddy. I'm still with these big names. You know what I mean? I'm still with the Hollywood elite, until the moment where they go, wait a second, this isn't cool anymore. No, I'm not cool with this. I'm not an S worker. I'm a human being that doesn't want to do this. There are human beings that want to do that and enjoy that and know what the transaction is, know what the breakdown is. But for me, I didn't sign up for that. I want to be an actor, or I want to be a screenwriter, or I want to be a model. I don't want to do this. I want to be a singer. I want to be on Broadway, right? I didn't know this was going to be like this. Holy crap. Hold on. This is insane, right? Some people, real talk, I think get sucked into this world, okay, unbeknownst to them, and then suddenly, next thing you know, they pick their head up and they're like in a sea of bodies, and they're like, wait a second, how did I get here? Why am I even in this room? This is not me. This is not what I do. You see what I'm saying? And this is regular, everyday folks that are not thinking that their world or their life is going to be a P star, or, you know what I mean, or be an S worker of some sort. These are just regular, everyday people that are only thinking about the career that they want to obtain. And suddenly they're getting thrown in to the world of S work unbeknownst to them. I think that that's one of the big things that has caused quite a rift and quite a problem in that courtroom with Diddy. Because if you really think about it, if these were S workers and he only hired S workers, there would be no lawsuits. There would be no feds going after him with the Jane Doe or the Cassie. There would be no Cassie. There would be no Jane Doe. You see what I'm saying? They would just be bringing in like cinnamon and cocoa and lavender with the Punisher and the Rico and the Chef and the Sly. You see what I'm saying? There wouldn't be so much gray. It'd be like, okay, he was hiring these people in. They were flying across state lines. They get paid to do their hibbity dibbity, and they moved on. So, yep, that is pros, and that's some STing there. Okay, and yeah, he was plying them with substances. There's no gray in here because this is black and white. It's all transactional, right? It's all a transaction. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But when you throw in the Jane Doe situation, or you throw in something like a Cassie, where you have a young person going, hey, oh, wow, I'm working with the likes of Diddy. I signed a major deal with him. Oh, my God, I can't wait. I'm falling in love with him. He is showering me with gifts. He's love bombing the F out of me. And now I'm in a sea of bodies with a whole bunch of men. And what is going on? What happened? How did this happen? Holy crap. I'm a singer. I'm a model. And hope to be an actress. What am I doing in here? What's going on here? And I think that that's the problem. I think we live in a weird world where the sexual revolution has already been here and gone, right? But there is a new thing, right? That women should be allowed to have their own freedom, actually, right? They should have their own spicy freedom. And I agree, they should be able to do what they want to do. But at the same time, because we live in this world where everything is such a money-based thing and everything's so transactional, there's so much gray that at one point it could turn into someone saying that they're saying that they're cool with it, and the next minute they're not. It can definitely be that way. And unfortunately, when you take that situation into the world of the courtroom, it's not so black and white. Then it's trying to show proof of said transaction. You see what I'm saying? I think that we live in a very interesting world, especially with the OFs, especially with this new wave. Well, it's not really a new wave, but it's the new approach to men or women with money with other people and how they treat those particular people. You see what I'm saying? I think that it just gets a little strange. And I think some people are thinking that, I'm getting taken care of. All I have to do is X, Y, and Z, only to find out that later on down the line, you're doing more than just X, Y, and Z. You're doing the whole freaking alphabet, for crying out loud. And you don't realize that you're doing the whole alphabet until it's too late. And then you wonder, just like what we were seeing in this courtroom, is it justifiable to throw charges at somebody in a situation like that? And we just saw that no, it's not. We just saw that in court. Let's be real. And it's crazy because, again, there are going to be men and women out here, rich men and rich and powerful women are going to be using this forever. This same approach. There's plenty of people, aside from Diddy, that go up to a woman like, say, like Elizabeth, okay, and say, hey, I need you to set up and do this, that, and the third. I'll make sure you got your rent paid. I'll take care of your car. Your car note will be taken care of. You'll be dripping in nothing but the best type of threads. You'll have the roof over your head. You'll have the cell phone taken care of. I'll take care of everything. All I need you to do is do what I ask you to do, and I need you to show up looking fire every time. Those types of understandings and that type of transactions, those types of transactions still exist to this very day, y'all. To this very freaking day. And again, there's plenty of people out here that are going, I'm sure now, are literally going, men and women who are in this type of relationship like Diddy has had in the past and currently with Jane Doe, for a fact there are people out here going, well, I'm doing all this stuff that I don't want to do. Does that constitute as coercion? Does that constitute as SA? Does that constitute as S trafficking? Does that constitute as pro? That question was not answered in the Diddy trial. And I'm hoping, and I was hoping that was going to be something that was going to be answered in the Diddy trial. But unfortunately, it was not. He got away by the skin of his teeth, by the way, on the STing and the racketeering. And what Elizabeth said just a second ago, she's 110% right. It's a tale as old as time. The only thing is that they change the narrative just by one word at a time. Every single time somebody gets caught doing something like this, they just change the narrative. They just change instead of it saying they, it says something else, right? They change the pronouns or they changed it from past tense to whatever, you know what I mean? Present tense, you know what I mean? They do whatever they can to move the goalpost so that those other higher ups don't get in trouble. What about the likes of Mike Jeffries, right? I like girls that wear Abercrombie and Fitch. What about him? What about that mother lover, right? He had his own fair share of freak offs. They were just filled with men. Young, impressionable, male model hopefuls. A lot of those men, a lot of those models, probably straight. But were forced to do certain things to make things happen for themselves so that they can be on the front page of some ad or be on the billboards of these ads, so on and so forth, right? Like I said, the likes of Mike Jeffries, the Epsteins, the Weinsteinis, the Diddys, the R. Kellys, they are still out there. They are still doing their thing for show. The only thing is they're still hiding in plain sight, y'all. Because that trial didn't do anything for victims. It did not. It didn't. It just showed and told the people that are out there doing this bad, all it did was tell those people, yo, you got to change it up, bro. Sorry, y'all, but you got to change it up now. You can't do it so out there in front of everybody anymore. You can't change. You can't just use a fake name to go into this hotel room anymore. Okay. You can't do this, this, and this anymore. You're just going to have to change the way you move and operate out here in these streets. Okay. You got to be a little bit more discreet. And that's exactly what's going on. Real talk. It's sad. It's very, very sad. Christina, thank you so much. Okay, so you and I have read the book. She drops names or a good enough description where you know who she's talking about. Absolutely. And I do think a new book is coming. I really do think she's sitting there. Like I said, you see it in her face when she's talking. She's like, well, I'm still processing it. And it's just how she raises her eyebrow. Even in that still right there. It almost seems like she's like, oh, I got another book. I think I have another book in me. Holy crap. I got another book. You don't think she's going to do that? She's got another book. That's all she's like, I'm still processing it. And, I didn't realize I was going through certain things until I just realized that I was going through those things right now. And it's like, oh, snap. She's realizing she's got a book in her.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.